Well, today on Animal Zone, we're in the beautiful Ojai Valley and a great park here with the pet psychic Laura Stinchfield. And also we've got Tom, who's joining us with his dog Charlie, and Jen, who runs Dog Days Search and Rescue Team, which is based in Ventura and also now, I guess, in Tennessee, right?
Correct, yeah.
Tell us a little bit about Dog Days. How did that start?
Dog Days started 2014. A bunch of the girls had been doing dog rescue and they put together this team to go out and help missing pets.
So if someone lost a dog or a cat, you guys go and find them like a search and rescue team?
Correct.
How do you do that? I mean, do you have to map it out, figure out where they were last seen?
We do. We run a lot of the missing pet pages, so there we can give the advice directly to the owners as to what to do first. So like the first thing would be to put up big giant posters. That's the number one tool in getting sightings, to figure out where your pet went.
Do you do milk cartons as well? No. But so, okay, so you see a missing dog. How do you get that dog to come to you? I mean, sometimes they're scared maybe, or
right,
wild.
We do track them based on all those sightings. We can figure out where they're at, and usually dogs get into a pattern within 3 days. And so then we're able to set traps, humane traps for the animals, where we just put the food in there and the dog goes in on the plate and it shuts the door and they're secured. Some pet parents, we have to coach into getting their dog back because they won't come to them. Ah. And that's what we did with Tom.
Was Charlie your dog before and you lost?
Oh yeah. She's 11 this year, and we found her when she was 4 months old, so she's been part of the family for a while.
And then she disappeared one day? It
was sort of an exceptional set of circumstances. I mean, she's with us pretty much all the time, but we were visiting friends in Malibu, so before we went for a little beach walk, we sort of penned her into his pool area. It's fenced off everywhere, but she chewed through the fencing to come looking for us, and that began a 3.5 day search through when she was finally found 3.5 days later. She was 5 miles from his house. You know, she had sort of woven through all kinds of different ravines, and if you know the area well in Malibu, I mean, she started in Point Dume, crossed the Pacific Coast Highway, and went up Canaan Dume Road, which is, if you know that road, when it's inundated with tourists and they're blazing it at 80 miles an hour. It was one of the hottest weekends of the year. It really didn't look good.
Did she have tags on her?
She did not, no.
Oh, okay.
No.
So,
I mean,
if someone's found her, they may not know who she belonged to.
Yeah, and that was why first inkling about how to find a lost animal, the most important thing, which is also kind of the least sexy thing, like the part of the rescue that nobody wants to really volunteer for, is put up a billion signs and leaflet as much as possible. You know, people want to come up and help, and they want to help, search for your beloved family dog, and then when you tell them, like, yeah, it'd be really great if you could go put up 100 signs, it's kind of, you see their faces fall. It's like not the thing people imagine themselves. People want to be the ones who
find the dog.
Sure.
Yeah.
But did that help? Was that ultimately how you found it?
It did, and then what the eventual rescue actually hinged on, Jen and Linda, with my great friend Sean, who had been looking for, he'd been up in Malibu with me looking for her. It was the first day. He was one of the first people who dropped everything. 5:36 in the morning, he's lying in bed and he's thinking to himself, we really didn't look through some of those drainage ditches way up Canaan Dume Road thoroughly enough. So, unsolicited, gets in his car, takes a high-powered flashlight up to Malibu to go looking through some drainage ditches. And he's driving up Canaan Dume Road at 6:15 in the morning, and lo and behold, sees Charlie trotting up the side of the road. And like she had said, that was the previous sighting of her 24 hours prior, and so she had been in this pattern. She'd been in this loop of sort of that we pieced together way after the fact.
Wow. Well, maybe what we can do is talk with Charlie, find out what transpired in those 3.5 days. It sounds like an amazing adventure for anyone, especially a dog.
Yeah.
And but we got to take a break first. So let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more Animal Zone. Hey, take a look at these loving animals that you can adopt today. And don't worry, if someone beats you to the shelter, there are plenty more wonderful animals ready to find you and their forever home. We're back here on Animal Zone with Laura Stinchfield, the pet psychic, Tom, the rescuer of Charlie, and Jen with Dog Day Search and Rescue. And Laura was going to try and tap in a little bit about what Charlie went through in this 3.5 days of rambling through the hills of Malibu.
I think one of the important things, though, is that we should talk about how you tried to catch her, right? You tried to...
Yeah, when she first escaped from my friend's sort of pool enclosure, she'd been trotting around the Point Dume, Malibu area for, probably 45 minutes or an hour before we realized it. And so all my friends took off in cars finding her, and one of my friends found her and got out. He knows her really well. He's known her since she was a puppy. So he chased her a little bit, and she was running away from him. And then I got there, right at this, she was about to dart into this awful gully. And I thought she'd see, when she saw me, she'd come right away. But I sort of took over running from where he was, and she just kept running. As you then explained to me days later, no, when they're in, their fight or flight mode, there's no, you can't quite reason with them. They take every other sort of mammalian presence as a threat, and if you're yelling towards them, they think you're yelling at them, and they've done something wrong. And it was pretty awful and frustrating because she ran away from me and then into this awful ravine. And I spent the next 8 hours combing through it, and just I was in, because we were at the beach, I'm in flip-flops and swim trunks, just getting lacerated by these brambles and bushes and all this awful stuff. And then right before the sun goes down, it's really 6 or 7 hours later, and all of a sudden there's a loud crack. I stepped on a branch that broke, and she takes off. She had been 5 feet away, and then I'm running after her, the thorn bushes are smacking me in the face, and there's there's poison oak everywhere, and I'm just calling her and yelling at her and trying to catch up to her, but she's just taking off, and she's so low she can get through all these things that I can't get through. And that was the second time that I had I'd been chasing after her, and it was it's so frustrating that she's trying to find us, and I'm trying to save her. And it's
common because I hear it in my business, and you probably hear it too, right? That they turn it, they almost shut you off, and they become someone totally different. Right. And a lot of people get super frustrated. What do you think about this story? Can you tell me, what do you think about that time where you kind of got lost and you were running from your family even? She said something happened to me that was really kind of interesting. What happened to you? She said, when Dad was chasing me, I didn't think it was Dad. Who did you think it was? She said she thought it was just some stranger. And so, couldn't you, smell him? Couldn't you, hear his voice? How come it shut off? Because you seem like such a smart girl. She says you get hypersensitive to everything, and noises just sound like noises. When he finally got me, I was like, no way, is that you?
What are some of the things you can do if you've got a dog that's running away from you to try and stop it from running? I mean, do you have treats in your pocket? Are there any strategies?
Yeah, usually have treats and sit down and wait. The more you chase the dog, the more it's going to run. Kind of like a toddler. When a toddler gets something they're not supposed to have, and you say, what do you have? And you start running after them, they run faster. Same with the dog. So we always advise just to sit down. As we coach Tom, we actually had him sleeping in his car that night. And we had used our Wi-Fi camera up at the last spot where she was seen. And we used his stinky shirt that he had on for 2 days, and we put it right next to the camera. If she came back up there, we could tell him how to get her. And that's exactly what happened. A bobcat showed up on camera, and then a half an hour later, she showed up on camera.
Charlie's incredible adventure.
Yeah.
Well, we really appreciate you guys coming here and sharing this story with our viewers and with us. And Dog Days, if people want to know more about what you guys do, you have a website, don't you?
It's dogdaysar.com.
You guys are doing great work, and thank you both for being on Animals On. And of course, Laura, always a pleasure.
Yeah.
And I want to hear more about Charlie later, as far as whether Charlie went out to the nightclubs that night in Malibu. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back with more Animal Zone.